Cinemajaw is sponsored by Overcast, an independent podcast app that embraces the open world of podcasting instead of locking it down. No exclusives, no premium content, no paywalls. Just a great podcast app for everyone. Get it for free in the App Store.
And we thank them for their support. You're listening to Cinemajaw, the greatest movies podcast ever, recorded on location from our respective homes in Chicago. My name is Matt Kay, and with me is...
Rye the Movie Guy. And this week on Cinemajaw, Matt, we continue our love of horror movies. And this week, we look at the ending of these great horror movies as we cover just that, the top 5 greatest endings in horror movie history.
I mean, that's where it's at, really. The ending is the part that can haunt you. And it's so easy in bad horror movies to just have a crappy ending where there's one extra jump scare and it's just to set up a sequel. In a good horror film that sets it up really well and gives you that uneasy feeling that you take with you, that's the mark of genius.
Yeah, you like that horror to linger as you leave the theater on your way to the car and you're scared, right? You move a little bit faster on your way to the vehicle because you're afraid something's lurking in the bushes.
Oh, I have a story to tell when we get to our top 5.
Well, we have a great guest who's going to be joining us this week to help us with that top 5.
Yes, that's right. Elliott Bambrough from Chicago's Best returns to Cinemajaw for, I believe, his 3rd, perhaps 4th time. We'll have to get clarification from the Jawbox on that.
Can't wait to talk to Elliott. In honor of Bill Murray's new movie, On the Rocks, which is coming to Apple TV Plus, and the film we will be reviewing, Matt, next week, I figured this is a good time for you to take Elliott on in Bill Murray movie trivia.
Okay.
That sound good?
That sounds good. I bet you we're pretty evenly matched.
We also have a couple of big reviews.
That's right. We are reviewing Hubie Halloween and The Trial of the Chicago 7.
2 completely different movies, right? One serious film that's probably going to be somewhat of an Oscar contender, and an Adam Sandler film.
Yeah, opposite ends of the spectrum.
That's what we do here on Cinemajaw. We cover the world of cinema, Matt.
Exactly right.
This month, we are celebrating the wonderful theme of sci-fi horror that Matt came up with. So let's start there with a fact on a sci-fi horror film.
All right. Regarding the film A Quiet Place, it was initially intended to leave the American Sign Language used unsubtitled, believing the audience would understand the subtext of what was going on. Notably, the first trailer does not subtitle the signing. However, while editing the sequence where Reagan argues with her father regarding the hearing aids, it was decided by the filmmakers that the sequence would have to be subtitled. Subsequently, all use of ASL throughout the movie was then subtitled.
So that means John Krasinski and Emily Blunt were actually using correct sign language. I always figure in movies like that, they're just making it up.
No, that was the real deal.
Interesting.
Good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is a jam-packed jaw, is it not, Matt Kay?
Indeed it is.
Without further ado, we bring in our guest. Elliott Bambrough is returning to Cinemajaw. I have it for his 3rd appearance on Cinemajaw, but maybe his 4th. Elliott, welcome back to Cinemajaw.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Clarification, do you remember if this is your 3rd or 4th?
I think this is my 3rd. I think this is my 2nd Halloween or horror related episode, but definitely my 3rd.
Okay. Yeah. I know the first time you came on, we did best voice performances.
Well remembered.
Yes. I remember we talked about Iron Giant, My Iron Giant.
The Iron Giant, yeah.
The Iron Giant, yeah. I remember that coming up, and I watched it right after seeing the movie. But we have Elliott because he's a big horror fan.
Ginormous. I mean, Halloween for me doesn't start and finish in October. It's a year-round thing. Halloween and horror movies are celebrated in my house. My wife as well is a giant horror fan, which helps. So it's been something that I think the first horror movie I saw was when I was 8 or 9 years old. My dad taped Alien off the TV. And from that moment on, I was sucked into the world of the macabre and the bizarre and the horrendous. And I've been there ever since.
Nice.
As my face will tell you.
Yeah. Now, you are the host of Chicago's Best, a show where you're going out to restaurants, talking to restaurant owners. With the pandemic going on, kind of tricky to do.
It is a little tricky. Just like everyone else, we've learned to adapt. We're in a situation now where everything's done remotely, just like your podcast now. Everything's done via Zoom, so we do our interviews and stuff. We figured we still need to be there to support the restaurants, especially right now. They need us. They need the exposure.
Yep.
So we're doing what we can. We're adapting with Marley, who's my other co-host. We're doing a little bit of shooting ourselves at home with like food porn and stuff like that. Food porn, by the way, everyone, is an industry term. There's no food abused. It's the beauty shots for the food. Thank
you for clarifying that.
Yeah, sometimes people give me a weird look when we use that term. It is an official term that people use with regards to food photography. So, we're still doing the show. We're still doing our best to support the local food industry, and long may it survive.
Absolutely.
Amen.
For the jawheads in Chicago and around the country and world that want to check out Chicago's best, where should we guide them online, Elliott?
We have a number of different outlets. People can follow us on social. If they search Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, they can find us at Chicago's Best TV. And also all our old segments and episodes, everything you can think of is on YouTube, again, which is at Chicago's Best TV. And also on our website, if you want to use that, chicagosbesttv.com.
Do it, everybody. Hey, Elliott, I got a quick question for you regarding horror. When we had you on the first time, I remember you saying, hey, you got to have me back when you guys cover horror.
Right.
You mentioned Alien being the first movie you saw, but what was it about the genre that hooked you think?
I think we all like being a little bit afraid and terrified and scared. And there's something about escaping into a movie for 90 minutes, for 120 minutes, being scared out of your life, but knowing that you can get up away from that, walk away, and for the most part, you're unaffected by it. But I don't know. I think it's a really good question. It's a really difficult one to answer, why I gravitated towards it. I think I just enjoy the over-the-top nature of it all. I like the innovative way people have reinvented the subgenres, whether it's sci-fi horror, whether it's any kind of these subsets of horror, that there's so many fascinating and interesting variations of the genre that for some reason it was like magnetic. I couldn't keep myself away from it.
I'm right there with you, for the record, man. Been a big fan of horror my whole life as well.
Transitions us perfectly into a new question we want to ask our guests. Instead of the monthly theme question, Matt, where we just say, hey, what's your favorite Robert Pattinson movie? We decided to change it up here, Jawheads, and a lot of you will be familiar with the game Kiss, Marry, Kill. This is a game where you're given 3 people, and you have to say who you'd kiss, who you'd marry, who you'd kill.
This is a schoolyard game.
Do they have to choose between the 3 of us, or is this a question you're going to ask me?
So what we did here on Cinemajaw was we went into the Cinemajaw think tank, we call it, and we came up, made a little bit hybrid of a game, changed it, geared it towards movies, and we're calling it Keep, Destroy, Spielberg Remake, and it's just that. You keep one movie, you destroy one movie for all of time, and the third movie, Spielberg has to remake the movie, and that's all we have left. The original is also destroyed. The theme is sci-fi horror. We're all going to answer this question, but we got 3 movies that we're going to put into the gauntlet here, Elliott. And we're going to throw this to you. The first 3 movies are Alien.
Okay. My first horror movie ever.
The Thing.
Oh, for God's sake. One of my favorite films ever.
And The Fly.
Oh, which Fly? Which one?
The original The Fly.
With Vincent Price?
No, yeah, and Jeff Goldblum.
No, Jeff Goldblum one.
That's a remake.
That's David Cronenberg.
That's the Brundlefly. Yeah, Cronenberg.
Yeah, that one.
80s one. That's okay. So you just threw in 3 classics all together. Basically, you picked my first girlfriend, my first love. You picked. This is a nightmare.
It's sadistic and cruel.
But it's such a terrible thing to do, because Cronenberg's Fly is just a piece of cinematic masterpiece about, if you take off the layers, it's about a film about loss, about watching someone you love die slowly. And then you've got Alien, which I've also told you guys is my first love, and then you got The Thing, which is one of John Carpenter's masterpieces, which I went to go and see at Music Box Theatre in 4K restoration. Oh my god! Can I marry one and then run off with the other two?
No,
Like elope?
no.
Get like an open relationship going with the movies.
Oh, this is ridiculous.
This is a tough first question. Wow.
This is just for the fun of it. So I would love to see Spielberg do a Spielberg remake of The Thing. I think that would be interesting to see. And then what the other two choices is, it's keep and destroy, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you're so vicious. That's just not fair. That's not fair to
one of them will be destroyed for all of time. No one will ever see this movie again. Which one is it? Whew.
Well, seeing as I'm so in love with Alien, and I don't want to share my love with anyone else, we're going to destroy Alien. So people have to come to me.
Ooh.
People have to come to me to recant it to them. It's the only way they're ever going to hear about the film, and I will tell them how great it was. So I'm going to keep The Fly. And no, you know what? I'm going to keep Alien. Where were we? We're going to keep Alien. We're going to Spielberg remake The Fly, and we're going to destroy Carpenter's The Thing.
I
Oh my
know.
goodness.
There's no right answer, Elliot.
No, hang on. No. We're gonna destroy The Fly because Spielberg's gonna remake The Thing, and I'm gonna keep Alien.
Wow. There it is.
That's not fair. That took about 3 hours.
Matt, I'm going to go next because I align with Elliot. Maybe my thinking's a little bit different here, but we're definitely locked in on this idea of Spielberg remaking The Thing. I think if we're putting it to the test here that Spielberg has to remake one of the three, which is the game we're playing, I think the right choice is to see what he would do with The Thing. I would be very interested in seeing that. For my money, then it becomes The Fly and Alien. And for me, I don't have the love affair with The Fly as much as Elliot does. So for me, it's actually an easy choice. I destroy The Fly. No one ever sees The Fly again. And I keep Alien also. Matt?
This is a liquid answer, and it could teleport to a different answer on a different day. But for tonight, I will keep Alien. It is a masterpiece, okay? It's a perfect movie. I would destroy John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh,
And that is painful.
That sounds so wrong to say.
It does. I would let Spielberg try out his hand at remaking Cronenberg's Fly, and he would have to cast Tom Hanks as the Brundlefly.
Of course he would.
I like it. Should we do one more quick one of these? Can you stomach it or
As
no?
long as it's not that painful. Jesus.
Yeah.
Let's try one more
Okay.
because I had a second one written down here. Elliot, your three movies are
Go easy on me, please.
Predator,
Okay.
28 Days Later,
Danny Boyle.
and Hellraiser.
Oh my God, you guys are kicking me while I'm on the floor, and I'm wearing glasses. That's so wrong. All right, we're gonna go crazy on this one. We're gonna push Spielberg to his limits by remaking Hellraiser, because just purely for my enjoyment, I want to be on set every day trying to see Spielberg get his head and the whole idea of the concept. That's just hilarity to me. In fact, I don't even want to see the movie release. I just want to see the behind the scenes documentary about how it was never released. And then we're going to destroy 28 Days Later.
I think that's the move.
Yeah. Sorry, Danny Boyle. There's way too many zombie movies in the world right now anyway. No one needs to see another one. And that means I'm keeping Predator. What a classic. It's Arnie at his best.
Matt, you agree with that pick?
You know, I was going to say, can I go next? Because I pretty much align exactly with that. I keep Predator. One of my favorite movies of all time. One of the most masculine movies. I could put it on right now, sit down and watch the whole thing.
Oh, so masculine.
Very, very, right? Arnie.
Do you work out to it? Do you bench press while you're watching Predator?
Totally, yeah. I would have Spielberg remake Hellraiser. I think that is a brilliant idea. You get Tom Hanks's Pinhead.
Tom Hanks just in every remake.
Yeah. He's got to be. He's,
Yeah.
And then you lose 28 Days Later. We're living in a zombie apocalypse. I don't think we need that movie so much anymore.
True confession, and I'm going to change it this October. It's written down. I've never seen Hellraiser.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's a
We
blind
have such
spot for
wonderful
me.
things to show you, Ryan.
Oh,
I know. So for me, having not seen it, it would be my pick to destroy it since I haven't seen it. I would
that
like
makes
to
little to no sense.
I would like to see what Spielberg does with Predator. So we'll have him remake Predator.
With Tom Hanks as the alien.
Yes, exactly. 100%. And we will keep 28 Days Later in my world.
Wow. Couldn't be more opposite from us.
I love the idea of destroying a film that you've never seen.
Doesn't matter to him.
Whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Hey, that's a fun question. This is a good time.
Yeah.
We have Elliott sitting in on this entire jaw. He has his top 5 horror endings picked out that he thinks are absolute classics. Plus, he also took a look at Hubie Halloween, so he'll join us on that as well. Should be an interesting jaw, to say the least, Matt K.
Oh, yeah.
Protests in the street, a trial about inciting riots, finger pointing between law enforcement and protesters, young people demanding change in the country. Am I watching the nightly news? No, I'm watching the new Netflix film, The Trial of the Chicago 7. Written and directed by Aaron Sorkin, featuring an all-star cast and a very timely subject, it is easy to see why this film is already being called an Oscar favorite. Matt and I hit the courtroom in hope of reaching our own verdict.
We want to underscore again that we're coming to Chicago peacefully, but whether we're given permits or not, we're coming.
We're going to Chicago to protest the Vietnam War.
And there's no place to be right now but in it.
We watched for a decade while these rebels without a job tell us how to prosecute a war. Well, they're going to spend their 30s in a federal facility, real time.
People say, you know, Abby, are you concerned about an overreaction from the cops?
Holy shit. You all right?
I was until I saw that. Are the people ready to make opening arguments?
The film was 1968. The event was the Democratic National Convention. The city was Chicago. Every film that tries to encapsulate the 1960s in some type of quick montage will always show you clips of the moon landing, the news of the 3 big assassinations, and finally, video of police clashing with protesters on the streets of Chicago. The quick video informs you that there were protests that turned violent. The who, what, why is what is answered in the trial of Chicago 7. We open up with quick cuts between various groups who are planning to come to Chicago and protest during the convention. This is done with high energy and witty dialogue that we have come to expect from Aaron Sorkin. It also explains to us that the various groups had no affiliation with each other. We then jump to the courtroom a year after the event and see the start of the trial of the Chicago 7, plus Bobby Seale, a member of the Black Panthers that had no connection to the other 7 people on trial, but the court lumped him in there anyway. They were all charged by the government for conspiracy to start a riot. The trial turned into a circus, with the likes of Abby Hoffman. Jokes and interruptions became aplenty. The judge's last name was also Hoffman. Turns out, no relation. At stake was the freedom to protest. But what the trial had become was a distraction for what the protest was about, ending the Vietnam War. Much of the film takes place in a courtroom. It's heavy on dialogue, and this is the strength of Aaron Sorkin. There's humor, drama, and a poignant message. The cast is terrific. Eddie Redmayne, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Mark Rylance, and Michael Keaton, all great. But the 2 standouts for me are the 2 Hoffmans. Sacha Baron Cohen playing Abby Hoffman and Frank Langella playing Judge Julius Hoffman. I can see nominations for both of them. The movie comes out at a perfect time. The ending moved me, as did Michael Keaton saying, "Swear me in." Matt, what is your ruling on the Chicago 7?
It would be perfect right now if I said, I object. But that would be overruled. And frankly, I don't object. Aaron Sorkin is probably the best writer in Hollywood right now, period, bar none. I'm super glad to see him continuing his role as a director as well as a writer. And this is his sophomore effort, and it just completely outshines his last movie, Molly's Game. And I liked Molly's Game quite a bit. I think you're right, Ryan. We're going to be talking about this one come Oscar season, whatever kind of Oscar season we're going to have. And it's so accidentally timely. I enjoyed this movie quite a bit.
Yeah, I think what's shocking is how much of it did take place in the courtroom. I looked down at the time when we finally get the flashback to the scenes of the if you want to call it the protests that turned into the riots. That's 50 minutes into the movie. Yeah. So basically for the first 50 minutes, for the most part, you're in the courtroom or outside of the courtroom explaining what's going to happen. And Jawheads, this is not boring at all because the dialogue is actually moving around so fast with such high energy and humorous. This, of course, is a poignant movie, but it is quite funny as well.
Yeah, it's got a lot of humor. I mean, obviously with Sacha Baron Cohen, he's got that comedic timing to bring to bear. And Sorkin's writing, as I mentioned, just spot on. When you think of great courtroom movies, the ones that spring to mind are like A Few Good Men, which is fictional. It's a great courtroom movie, but it's fictional. And then you think of People versus Larry Flint. I might put this above both of them. If we were doing a list on courtroom movies, it's probably one of the best ones ever made.
It's definitely up there, and it gets away from that, that fake crowd noise when something shocking happens during a trial and the courtroom all reacts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. There's none of that. They got rid of that.
Order of the court.
But the judge, played by Frank Langella, is really this evil man he had lost control of the courtroom. All documents show it. I mean, he was the wrong judge for the trial.
Yeah, I actually did a little bit of research. This is what a great movie like this kind of does, is it makes you go down that rabbit hole and read about the true story. And I guess he was by a group of his peers found to be unfit for the position by 76% of his peers. And going back one point that you made earlier, Ryan, about when they choose to bring in the footage of the riots and recreate some of those moments. So I actually thought they were going to do it earlier. And by the time they bring it in, by the time Sorkin gets to that, it was unexpected. I think that was a brilliant piece of filmmaking because he made the most obvious thing that we were going to see into something completely surprising. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
I thought that pacing wise was a masterstroke.
Yep. And a movie like this, like I said, I was moved at the end. Maybe somebody are going to see it is a little too melodramatic, but it worked for me.
Yeah. So you're talking about the scene where Abby Hoffman takes the stand?
Yes.
Okay. And this isn't a spoiler for anybody. Obviously, this is a true story. I got to say, Ryan, I'm sort of in the melodrama camp on that one because he kind of turns it up to 11 right there with the, really slowing it down. Obviously, the quote from Abby Hoffman is true, what he said, but yeah, it maybe crossed the line into a bit too melodramatic territory for me, but it is a poignant moment.
It is. For a movie poster quote, I went with "The whole world is streaming." A take on "The whole world is watching."
The whole world is watching,
which is chanted quite a few times in the movie.
That's one of the interesting things. What was the 60s, decades ago, they're still chanting the same things today on the streets of various cities. So I found that kind of interesting. My movie poster quote would be, go ahead and watch Sorkin's The Trial of the Chicago 7. You will not object.
Not bad.
Not bad? Okay, thanks.
How many Jaws?
It's a 4-jaw movie.
4 Jaws, nice.
Yeah. What did you think?
I'm right up there with you. I'm 3.5 Jaws. Maybe only because the issues near the end of the film that, again, maybe, I don't know, just a little shy of 4.
I just love Aaron Sorkin so much. I think I could go back and just listen to this movie, not even watch it, just listen. It's that good. His writing is that good.
Not a horror movie by any means, but that is our topic this week. Our favorite endings in horror movies. Elliott, was this a tough list for you to come up with, being the horror aficionado that you are? I would think you had a tough time narrowing it down to 5.
I have a tough time narrowing any list down to 5. Music, movies, whatever it may be. You know, if you love an art form of telling stories, then you pretty much like the breadth of everything. So it's always difficult, and it depends on frame of mind and that kind of thing. But yeah, of course, it was extremely difficult. And then you start having to try and think of unique or movies that really resonated with you and made you think afterwards, or left you not feeling comfortable. That's what I went for. It was movies that made me feel affected, or movies that made me feel didn't give me closure, which is what other great horror movies do. Is they don't always give you closure. They give you more to think about, and they also make you more afraid than when you went in sometimes.
Well, you're getting us started this week. What do you got sitting at number 5?
No particular order, actually, because as ever, it's an extremely difficult thing to do. But one of the movies that I loved, people always talk about the classics, and I love the classics as well. But I remember a movie came along that kind of redefined the horror genre for a while, and also opened up a whole new subset with the found footage situation, which was a film called The Blair Witch Project. And it was something that was completely revolutionary for movies in theaters at the time. No one had ever seen anything like it. In fact, I remember going with a group of friends to the opening night, and half of us were still not sure whether it was a legitimate documentary movie that was found, or whether these were actual actors, because it felt so natural. Just the way that they chased the witch. And some of the best horror movies I love, you never get to see the antagonist. You never get to see that demon or whatever. The shadows are the ones that scare you the most, because it's all in your head. And the same is true with the Blair Witch, where you don't see her, you hear about her, and you hear about how she's terrorized people and made them stand in the corner of a room facing the wall. And then that final shot where the camera pans and the guy is just facing against the wall, and then it just goes to black. I was terrified after I saw that. Apart from having nausea from the camera jolting around all the time, just that final shot, I was just sitting in the movie theater, just jaw wide open, just like,
yeah,
it was great.
We're doing this topic, so obviously I was watching a lot of scenes today leading up to this, and that was one that I considered. So I did watch that final scene, and instantly I wanted to just watch the movie at some point during this Halloween season, because just that scene got me in the mood for a good scare.
Because it's been imitated so often now, it almost feels slightly cliche, but I think a lot of people don't realize that when it came out, that was the standard bearer. That was completely new, and all these other remakes and copies are, you know, an homage to that movie. It was unlike anything else that I'd certainly seen.
I agree. I was living in New England at the time. I think the thing about Blair Witch is that it was very much an experience you could only have in the theater, because I tried to watch it again because I loved it, and it was okay on a home, theater setup, but just not the same. And it was part of that urban legend surrounding it. Is this real? Is it not? Just a brilliant marketing campaign. But living in New England, coming out of the movie theater, getting into the car with all my teenage friends and driving through the woods. And I was like, we got to go camping tonight. Nobody would do it. I was down to go camping, but I was alone in that. That swings it over to me for my number 5 pick. I mentioned at the top of the show how sometimes you get that one extra jump scare. And usually I think it's very poorly done. But there's one film, I don't know if it's the first. I'm sure it's probably not. But Tom Savini created this amazing makeup effect. And most jawheads will probably be familiar with Tom Savini from Dusk Till Dawn. He played Sex Machine. But he was a very well-respected, famous Hollywood creature artist. And
Legend.
Mm-hmm. The first time we see Jason Voorhees is at the very end of Friday the 13th, when he jumps out of Crystal Lake and attacks the final girl in the boat. It's just an amazing scene. You can't, even though, yes, it's been aped so many times, it's become a trope and a cliche. And I'm not saying this was the first time. It's the one that I remember. And plus, it's the original Friday the 13th. So there you go.
Can't argue with that one. And that scene of him coming out of the water is still creepy as hell. If you just watch it out of context, but you just see that particular image of him jumping out of the water, it's still freaky, man. Mm-hmm. My number 5, smaller movie, I love movies where you're in this world with these characters on screen, and then the final scene actually opens up this world and makes you think about how much larger it is than what we're just seeing. And that happened in this 2016 film. And if I told you, Matt, it was about a vegetarian going to veterinarian school, you would think like, this isn't a horror movie. The film is called Raw. Have you seen this one, Elliot?
Of course.
Yeah.
It's great. It's a good movie.
So literally a vegetarian, and we come to find out why she's a vegetarian, goes to veterinarian school. And while she's there, they force her to eat, I think it's like a kidney or some type of flesh. And she eats this and all of a sudden starts to get a craving for flesh. And I'll leave it there as far as you can let your mind run wild on where the horror goes. Well, the movie is interesting, gory, all around great. But the ending scene expands this whole kind of universe that they're in, because she ends up, after this bloody mess at the school, ends up going to talk to her father. And her father explains to her that there are ways to live with this issue that she has. And he ends up revealing himself, which somewhat of a spoiler here, Jawheads, obviously, but it shows that he obviously had bite marks taken out of him from their mother. This family has been living this type of situation and have actually had daughters knowing that this was running in the family. So great way of like making a small horror film seem so much larger. I was a big fan of Raw.
Very good film. Another one of those modern day horror movies that touch on many different subject matters and are a reflection of society, but do it so well. And that's the other beauty of the horror genre, is it hides the subtext beautifully within the carnage and stuff, and it gives you a chance to think. But that's a great choice.
Into our fours we go. What do we got sitting there, Elliot?
Well, lucky for me, I had 6 because I figured that we'd cross over at some point. So I've now scrubbed off Friday the 13th from my list.
Sorry about that.
No, this is your show. You're welcome to your choices. The next one I'm going to pick is another relatively new movie, big Hollywood budget movie, with an ending which I did not expect from a big Hollywood budget movie, but it's The Mist. And it's that final scene where they come to the conclusion that they rather kill themselves than suffer at the hands of the creatures, these Lovecraftian creatures within the midst. And just that, the hairs on my arms are going up right now. Just that moment where he takes the gun to his son's head, who's still asleep. And then as he's getting ready to shoot his son, the son wakes up and then he kills his son. And then the mist clears and then the army comes in. And it's that agonizing, you almost shift from, this is an incredibly brave dad who's going to not only take his son's life, but then take his own life. That's incredibly brave, to, you absolute idiot. Why didn't you wait for just 10 more seconds?
Yes.
But also the look that his son gives him when he wakes up and he's like, why are you pointing a gun in my face, Dad? It's just such a shocking end. It's just a mixture of emotions, and part of it, it's it's like the darkest comedy ever, that brief moment, but it's also such a touching, depressingly unsettling, and that's exactly what would happen to most people, is that kind of outcome.
Truth be told, Mist is on my list as well.
Well, I owed you one, Matt. I owed you one because you stole from me.
True enough. And it's okay. It's all right. But The Mist, I will say this about The Mist. My wife, huge Stephen King fan. I am as well. She reads every book the moment it comes out. I'm a big fan of the films, books as well. Mm-hmm. The ending of The Mist in the book, very, very different. So that's what I was expecting when we both sat down with our brand new kid asleep in his crib, new parents sitting down. And I got to be completely honest, this ruined horror for me for about 6 months, maybe even a year. I was like, if there's kids involved, I just can't take it anymore, because it devastated me, the ending of that film. Now, don't get me wrong. I think it is brilliant. I put it on my list. It left me so empty and feeling so bleak and hopeless. And it's just crushing. It's just absolutely sadistic the way they ended that.
It's depressing. And I mean, again, with horror, no one is off the table Everyone is a potential victim. If there's a dog in the first 2 minutes of a movie, you can guarantee like 15 minutes time when they go out to go and call the dogs coming for dinner, you're going to hear whimpers or the bad guy is going to get the dog. It's, you know, kids aren't off the table, animals aren't off the table, especially if you're having sex during a horror movie, you're definitely up for the slaughter chart.
Sure.
But everyone is fair game. And that's just, you know, it's so depressing, the end of that film.
Yeah, that one's a tough one. Speaking of depressing endings, I don't know how depressing this one is, but it was a good, almost M. Night Shyamalan-y type ending to a horror film. I won't say I completely didn't see it coming. I just thought it was really clever how they ended Saw. Maybe a little obvious of a choice, I guess, but you got to remember that this launched an entire decade's worth of sequels. You know, I think we're still getting Saw sequels. That it made the Jigsaw.
There's a new Jigsaw out, right?
Yeah, Jigsaw came
Primal,
out,
or whatever. Yeah.
It made the Jigsaw Killer up there with the likes of Freddy, Jason, and Michael Myers, sort of one of those famous monster types.
Made Tobin Bell a household name.
Totally, and really, all the sequels kind of pale to the first one, and the first one really reveals itself at the end when we find out. Maybe I shouldn't spoil it for those who haven't seen Saw. You should definitely catch up with it. But the ending is very clever, twisted, and twisty plot-wise. And I'll leave it there.
My number 4, I have another small movie that is on this list probably because recency bias. I watched this about a week ago in my list of Halloween movies, some of which were written down last year that Elliott gave us a wonderful list of movies. So I've been catching up with some of them, such as The Void. But this particular movie came out in 2015. Watched it, like I say, just recently. Kind of art house horror, I guess. It's called The Black Coat's Daughter.
Never heard of it.
Elliott, you've seen it. You're nodding yes. And I would actually say for people who are looking for like a big slasher type movie or a lot of horror and jump scares, probably not the movie for them. It's a little bit slower moving as you get to know these two young girls who are at like a prestigious private school. And you start to realize that there's some evil going on. But it's the ending as this movie starts to open up that we realize that one of the girls was possessed by a demon. And her move that she makes here is to behead people and to take these heads and bring them into the boiler room of the school and do this ritual. And this particular scene in the boiler room, when there's like a cop in the school finally comes in and they distort his voice from the way she's interpreting the way he's talking. Watching this in the screening room, it really screwed me up, man. It was a wild ending of a movie. Wow. And it's got a possession to it. And the character almost doesn't want to see the demons go away from her. It's so creepy. I really enjoyed the final about 25 minutes of The Black Coat's Daughter a ton. Loved it.
It's fun. I think it's on Netflix.
It is. Now. Yeah, that's where I caught it. It's on Netflix streaming. Yep.
Okay.
Into our 3s, Elliott. What do you got sitting there?
For my 3, this might not be as brutal as my The Mist ending, but this was probably my first encounter with a hero in horror cinema, someone who I obsessed about, who any kind of poster, anything to do with this character I was all about. But it's A Nightmare on Elm Street. And the reason this one is one of my favorite endings of all time is because of some of the incredible effects that they do in this movie. And this is before green screen. This is before CGI. Everything you see in movies from most of the 90s and earlier is actual physically happening on set. So A Nightmare on Elm Street has some incredible nightmarish things happening to characters and to the rooms that they're in and to the places they go to. And Freddy Krueger became like one of my biggest anti-heroes of my childhood growing up, and I was just obsessed by him.
Oh yeah.
But the reason I love this movie is because it's so methodical and so beautifully done right up until the last 35 seconds of the movie, where Nancy's mother gets pulled through the window, the like 3-inch window in the door.
I don't know how she fit through that thing.
The split second where it changes from the actress to the doll that they just pull through the door is almost a screw you to I don't know who it's to, from Wes Craven, whether it's to New Line Cinema for making him like wrap up production. But I do know they shot like about 4 or 5 separate alternative endings, and they didn't tell any of the cast which one was going to be the one that aired at the end of the movie, and that was the one they picked. And it's hilarious because that film just doesn't deserve that last shot before it pans across to the car with the zip top that comes up with Freddy's sweater and then the girls doing skip rope. But the mum getting dragged through the door is one of my favorite things in horror. It's just incredibly bad.
You got to have a sense of humor about it, you know? I mean,
yes.
I think that's what made Freddy such a compelling, memorable character that we all latched onto, was his sense of humor.
But that doesn't really come on to like the third movie. The first one, he's a desperately dark, you know, that hidden backstory that he has, and the way the parents got rid of him by burning him and killing him. That Freddy character doesn't really. The second movie, he kind of surfaces a little bit with the one-liners, but it's by the third one, the Dream Warriors, where where he really starts coming into his own with the, you know, Welcome to Prime Time and all those kind of one-liners.
The Dream Warriors, great name.
Great.
I love Dream Warriors.
It's so good, so good.
Swings it back to me for my number 3, and I am going with a remake, potentially superior to the original, but it depends on who you ask. I'm going with the Donald Sutherland version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Yes.
Wow. Yes.
We might use that for the cover shot. Elliott is doing his impersonation of Donald Sutherland. I watched this movie when I was like 8 years old. Okay. Way too young to see Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And when she meets Donald Sutherland on the sidewalk, you think it's going to be a safe interaction, right? And then he makes that face, and really that's the face and the sound, but really just the face, because I could look at that image and just be completely creeped out. And it just devastated me as a child. I wasn't right for a little while after that.
Yeah, this is a scene I watched again today, and was on my list. I will sub it out here. But also, they keep zooming in on his face until the camera basically goes in that gaping mouth of his, and that scream is going on. Oh, the whole entire thing scares the hell out of you for a final shot of a movie.
Yeah, I wonder if Donald Sutherland's wife has seen that, because I couldn't be friends with that guy after that. Really, I wouldn't want to be around him.
Do you ever see him and Kiefer together very often? I'm sure as a son, seeing that your father could potentially be a body snatcher and rat you out to the rest of the body snatcher community is probably the reason that they're very rarely together.
Could be.
Nice pick, Matt, at number 3. For mine, Elliott talked about the Blair Witch Project and how all these movies that came after were, you know, almost like paying homage to it because it was such a groundbreaker. And this one,
ripping it off.
This one, no doubt, is a disciple of the Blair Witch Project. But a fun movie. 2007, there was a remake English version, but I'm going with the Spanish version, Wreck.
I figured this would come up.
This is a found footage movie where a reporter goes into basically an apartment complex that there's firefighters. They don't know why exactly they're called there. Well, it turns out there's this virus that's turning these people that are in the apartment complex into, you know, zombies, animal-like instincts. They're just trying to eat other humans. We get that basically same shot that Elliott's talking about in the Blair Witch Project, where it's dark. We're in like night vision at this particular time, and we're down to just the reporter. The camera falls to the ground sideways, and her face is trying to find the camera, and we see her looking into the camera, and then the last image is her being pulled into the darkness. Just a great final shot. Again, yes, is it basically in a way ripping off the Blair Witch Project? Yes, but it did it in a very creative way.
I wouldn't say it's a ripoff. I mean, Blair Witch Project started something new, and, you know, somebody else took the ball and ran with it, and it's different. It's very different.
It's a great film. I'm trying to remember the original. Was the original an Argentinian movie? I for some reason, I think like it's a South American original. I can't remember. Maybe it was French.
We'll throw it in the jaw box. But I'm under the impression Wreck was the original, and then they made an English remake.
That's right. But yeah, it's a good movie. One of those ones that happened after Blair Witch that was strong enough to stand on its own. And that's when, when you're like, okay, this found footage thing is definitely going to stand the test of time because there's still creative ways of doing it.
Into our twos we go.
This is the tough one because two of my favorite all-time old school horror masters and horror movies. We've already touched on this. John Carpenter's classic In Antarctica. It's one of my favorites. It's a classic. It's a truly wonderful, atmospheric, paranoia, and incredible special effects movie. John Carpenter's The Thing. It blows you away. It makes you feel extremely uncomfortable the whole way through. Carpenter's score, as ever, is just atmospheric to the core. It's like your own heartbeat. Even the starting shot with a bum bum, bum bum. I love what Carpenter does. But that final scene where Kurt Russell's character, and I cannot remember the name of the other character in there, but when they finally come back together again, and they're both trying to figure out if one of them's the alien or not, and there's nothing they can do about it because their body temperature is about to fall below like living conditions, and all they can do is sit here and freeze to death and drink a bottle of whiskey together, and it's that beautiful blend of we're finished, is one of them an alien, there's nothing they can do about it, and what the hell. It's so many more questions than answers, but I love that film the whole way through. It's one of my favorite recommendations for anyone who wants to check out classic horror movies, and I always put it at my top of my list, and I just love that ending. It's just so, you know what, guys, who cares? Have some whiskey, maybe you're the alien, I don't care.
That's what I would do.
Let's just die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd just sit there and just drink a bottle of whiskey, accept,
right,
my fate.
Good pick at number two. What do you got there, Matt?
At number two, I had The Mist. So I'm going to call an audible and throw in one of my honorables, Night of the Living Dead, which this is the reason I didn't put it on my list is because we've talked about it. I've talked about it quite a bit. But for those who live under a rock somewhere and don't know, it's the original zombie movie. And what's, I think, still to this day so relevant is the way that Ben, who's a black man, gets treated by his would-be rescuers at the end of the movie. They just assume he's a zombie and shoot him dead, and he just gets thrown on the pyre, just another ghoul for the fire. I think that says a lot. I think Romero was way ahead of his time with this social commentary that film makes, and the ending is especially harrowing.
Good pick, Matt. For my number two, I go with Sam Raimi. We can't go wrong with Sam Raimi,
no, you
right?
Can't. You cannot.
And in 2009, so later on, he made quite a great horror film. I'm going with Drag Me to Hell.
Drag Me to Hell.
I'm a big fan of this one, and the plot actually has to do with a loan officer who does not give this elderly lady an extension on her mortgage. This spirals to the older lady who's creepy as hell in the movie. This old lady is one of the scariest people I've ever seen. You're talking Donald Sutherland, end of the Body Snatchers, scary. And she puts a curse on this girl, and then the rest of the movie is if she can try to somehow get rid of this curse. Well, it's an object that is cursed, and the ending of this movie, after we think it is solved, it turns out that the object was not solved, and we get this kind of twist ending. And the title of the movie, Drag Me to Hell, literally comes to fruition at a train station. And it couldn't have played out better cinematically. It just looked incredible, and it leaves you sort of just a gasp. You're just stunned that you just witnessed that happen, and bam, end of the movie.
Isn't that movie set in Chicago as well?
I will throw that in the jaw box. I don't know for a fact on that.
I love that
movie.
movie.
It's been a while since I've seen it.
It's got Raimi's stamp all over it. It's like part comic book in terms of its like angles, and you have that very familiar undead makeup that Raimi uses for all of his movies. And as soon as you said Raimi, I panicked because Raimi's my top one for my top five, but you didn't go the route I thought you were going to go.
What do you got sitting there at number one?
Sam Raimi, again, legend of the genre, a man who made one of the defining movies on an art house budget or a student project budget with his long-term collaborator and friend, Bruce Campbell. It's The Evil Dead. It's another movie I saw when I was very young and was blown away by its creativity, its use of innovative camera angles, its way of really shocking and surprising you and making you laugh at the same time. The closing scene at the end of The Evil Dead, when you think that Ash, everything he's lost is over and he's beaten the undead, and then that shot as the pace slowly picks up, going across the heath and all the fog, and then busting through the old cabin, and then coming through and like going straight into his face. It's just one of the standout endings. It's just such an incredible movie, and it's just, I don't know, often imitated, never bettered, and Raimi with that trilogy, with the Evil Dead trilogy, is up there in some of the greatest horror movies of all time. And Drag Me to Hell is a testament to how his direction has stood the test of time, and he can still bang those out like no one else can.
I hope he makes another one.
Keep going with him. I agree.
I would love to see another one. I wasn't a huge fan of the remake. I'm trying to remember what year that was from. I think it was like 2000, maybe 2010, 2012.
Was it that long ago? Maybe, I guess.
I don't know. I'm not too sure. I mean, I enjoyed it, but there's a director that I'm glad you didn't put any Raimi movies in the keep, remake, or destroy, because no one comes close to Raimi at what he does best.
Next time you're on, maybe we'll do just a Sam Raimi 3 that you got to pick through that. We'll see.
What was his superhero movie? Not the
Spider-Man?
Darkman.
Darkman. If you were to throw Darkman in there with Liam Neeson, then I would definitely destroy that. It was fun, but anything else that Raimi's done is easily 10 times better. And he'll probably hate me for saying that.
The thing with the Evil Dead for me, like I think I go Evil Dead 2.
It's a better movie.
And it's almost
it's
almost the same movie as the first one.
But does it have a better ending, Matt K?
I'm trying to remember I guess not, because I can't remember the exact ending.
The end of Evil Dead 2, that's when the like black hole tornado thing opens
swallows
up,
him up and
it drags him back in time.
Yeah.
And that's when Army of Darkness starts. Well, It doesn't start, even though it should do, it doesn't start from then, because Army of Darkness starts when he's working in a grocery store. It doesn't all link up, but yeah. Evil Dead 2 does have Ash with a chainsaw hand. That's when all the groovy stuff really happens. But the first one is still like the legacy movie. It's just incredible on such a tiny budget.
I mean, I'm not going to argue, man. I love the Evil Dead series, so I'm with you. Elliot, I think you're going to hate my number one. If I remember correctly,
we're not going Ari. We're not going Ari, are we? I thought we were going to come on here this year. There was going to be no conversations about Hereditary. There's going to be no discourse about Midsommar. I thought, thank God he hasn't released a movie this year, so the three of us can agree on stuff. Do I have to come out of the conversation now?
Dude, I don't know. I'm curious. You know, we can work on this. We can figure out what it is that you don't like about Ari Aster. I don't get it.
Elliot is covering up his Zoom camera on us.
My number one is Midsommar, and I think that it is the best modern horror ending. When we decided to do this list, I reached out to Elliot and Ryan and said, we can't pick the big three. So no Exorcist, no Shining, and no Rosemary's Baby. I would put this ending right up there with those three, because when Florence Pugh is staring in horror at what she's witnessing, this fire where people are burning and suffering, and she slowly begins to smile, everything that we've been through in the 2.5 hours we've watched this movie, it is a bit of a slog.
2.5 hours.
I think it's worth it. I do. I think it's worth it for the visuals, the storytelling, and this ending, man, because when she slowly starts to smile, you just realize exactly how twisted this movie is, and how she has now become a part of this cult. It makes you think so much. Like,
yeah, I'm with Matt K on this one, and I rewatched this not long ago, and the music, the chanting and the crying and the visuals, the bright colors, the contrast to the horror that we're seeing, it all works for me. I love the ending of this movie. I'm a big fan, Matt.
I'm with you on Elliot. I'm with you on Hereditary. I think it was a little overrated. It was good. Toni Collette was awesome, but I think the ending was pretty derivative. But this one, I'm not sure. Other than maybe the pace, it's not for everybody.
I think it's. I don't get me wrong. I think he's a wonderful filmmaker. I think the visuals are stunning. The cinematography is utterly gorgeous, and he knows how to deliver a punch. For example, in Midsummer, where the parents are up in the room and they've attached the exhaust of the car. You know, there's some really uncomfortable moments and things that make you feel like you're alone, even though you know you're not there. He really places you well, but I'm just not sold. I'm still not sold on Hereditary. I'm still not sold on Midsummer, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about his movies, because I enjoy them, but I don't feel like they don't resonate. They don't speak to me. They don't resonate with me. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
Maybe his next one will get you.
Yeah, we hope.
Well, I hear the next one is a 4-hour-long nightmarish comedy. No, I'm not even kidding, guys. That's what I've heard. His next movie is a 4-hour nightmarish comedy.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
He needs to rein that in a little, I think.
So my number one, truth be told, was the Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Oh, geez. I'm sorry, right.
My honorable mentions included Saw, The Blair Witch Project, and Midsommar. But I have one other honorable mention that was not brought up yet. I'm going 2015. I don't know if Elliott's a fan of this one. It comes up on the show here quite a bit. Robert Eggers directed The Witch.
Good movie. See, I like my art house.
There you go. And here, this is another slow burn, but the actual horror of the movie, the dread that we feel, really is that final scene with Black Phillip. That is it. I mean, I'm not saying there aren't other scares throughout that movie, but really the horror of the movie is the last 15 minutes of the movie. And sometimes that's the best you can do, because the movie ends and that image of that scene just sticks with you, of Black Phillip and the witch and the sounds, that voice.
And when she goes into the woods and levitates.
So it's a beautiful moment. It's a coming of age moment, and she's actually the witch that everyone said she was.
Yep.
Good for her.
That was my only film not mentioned, so I'll put that at my number one, The Witch. Any other honorables from you, Matt K, before we go to break?
All of Alfred Hitchcock's horror films. Every single one of them. Bird, Psycho, he had a way with endings. Cabin in the Woods, I think we need to mention as an honorable. It has a pretty wicked ending.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. Everything else we've discussed.
Elliott, anything?
I don't know. I think we touched on some great endings.
Sure have.
And I can't think of any more honorable mentions I have, because you guys basically covered them as well. So I think we're all in agreement, apart from Midsommar.
Awesome. Jawheads, if we missed your favorite ending in horror films and you have Twitter pulled up, shoot us a tweet, or you can email us feedback@cinemajaw.com. What we're going to do is take a break. When we come back, we're putting Elliott on the spot and going to ask him for a hidden gem in the horror genre that he's seen recently. This is really for my personal reasons. I'm going to take his suggestion. But we're also going to play some trivia, Matt K versus Elliott, and we have a review of Hubie Halloween. Stick with us.
We continue our month-long celebration of sci-fi horror with this clip from Annihilation, in which Natalie Portman confronts Jennifer Jason Leigh's character, Dr. Ventress.
It's the last phase. Vanished into havoc. Unfathomable mind. No beacon, no seed.
Dr. Ventress?
Lena. We spoke. What was it we said? That I needed to know what was inside the lighthouse. That moment's past. It's inside me now.
What's inside you?
It's not like us. It's unlike us. I don't know what it wants, or if it wants, but it will grow until it encompasses everything. Our bodies and our minds will be fragmented into their smallest parts until not one part remains. Annihilation.
And we are back on Cinemajaw, hanging out with Elliott Bambrough from Chicago's Best. And when he's not, Jawheads, when he's not at these restaurants, cooking the food in the restaurants and eating the food, he's watching horror movies. That's what we found out about Elliott. And so we thought...
Pretty true.
Yeah, we thought, let's ask Elliott, since you're watching all these horror films, do you got 3 maybe hidden gems that you would enlighten us with that we may not have heard of that we should seek out seeing this Halloween season?
This one's probably not an underground sleeper or something you haven't heard about before, but Color Out of Space is a wonderful, bizarre, psychedelic trip into Lovecraft country. If you're enjoying Lovecraft country on HBO and you're interested in exploring other avenues, this movie is full of strange purple hue colors, has one half of Cheech and Chong in it, has a large contingent of alpacas, which get constantly mentioned, and has Nicolas Cage at his most deranged horror movie best.
Sold.
Have you guys seen it?
I have, yeah. I loved
it. Ray?
I did.
Yeah. Isn't it just an incredibly insane, bizarre trip into your own mind?
And the alpaca that you mentioned, Elliott, is so damn funny that it keeps coming up. I love running gags, but this one worked particularly well.
It's really, really good. I mean, it's a fascinating movie, and because you put me on the spot, for the life of me, I can't remember the director's name, but he had a brilliant start to his career. He then was the director at the helm of the Island of Dr. Moreau, where Val Kilmer and oh my goodness,
Marlon
Brando, thank you. He was at the helm for that when everything went to hell, which there was actually a great documentary about that. So his career kind of went into the ether, and then this was his comeback movie to reignite his directorial work. And Color Out of Space is an explosion of wonderful color.
Yeah,
well supported by alpacas.
Richard Stanley is the name of the director.
Thank you.
There you go,
Richard Stanley, and it's a great movie. A couple of other movies I've seen recently which I thoroughly enjoyed. Another one is a British movie called Relic, which is a movie about a lady dealing with Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or one of those debilitating diseases. And it's again that question of, is she being possessed? Is there something strange going on, or is she simply losing her memory and her mind? And that's a great, slow burning, very, very creepy and well conceived horror movie. It's wonderful movie. I really enjoyed that one.
Bit of a haunted house vibe to it as well.
Yeah, you've seen it?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not giving you guys great ideas with my sleeper horror movies right now.
Hey, they're good picks, at least. I mean, so the Jawheads should see these movies. So,
and I'll give you one more. This movie is on the Shudder platform, which I'm a big fan of. If you're a horror fan or if you're into horror movies, then Shudder is great. It's not that expensive per month. And there's a movie on there called Haunt, which is about a remote haunted house attraction. Basically, anyone who walks through the front door gets their entire body slashed to pieces. I think body count in this one probably approaches 30 to 40 deaths.
Okay.
It is unrelenting. It is nonstop. It's a wonderfully well-made movie and a real appreciation of horror. And it's definitely one to check out if you don't like the art house style movies, if you don't like slow burners, if you like something that's raw, that's slashery, that brings that element of just adrenaline pumping. Haunt on Shudder is a wonderful film to check out for Halloween.
Awesome.
Sweet.
I like it. Elliott, for jawheads that want to follow you on Twitter, hear you rant about the Chicago Fire and horror films, where should we send them?
It's the letter E, the number 2, THEBAM, E to the BAM. And that's my handle on Twitter, where I normally rant about the fire and about horror movies and food. And on Instagram and on Facebook, it's my whole name, Elliott Bambrough. No one can spell that. Half my family can't spell that. So good luck finding me.
We'll put the links in the show notes for everybody.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Matt, before we get to Hubie Halloween and before we get to trivia, we did throw a couple items into the jaw box. Let's open up that jaw box.
What's your pleasure, Mr. Cotton?
The box.
We got a box! What's in the box?
2 questions were thrown in that we were looking for. One was Rec.
Right.
Rec was the original. It was a Spanish film. The American remake was entitled Quarantine.
There you go.
Have not seen it. I cannot comment on Quarantine. The other question thrown in there by Elliott was Drag Me to Hell supposed to be set in Chicago? No, Los Angeles for Drag Me to Hell.
Really?
So, yeah.
I feel like a terror horror film aficionado right now. That's embarrassing. Drag Me to Hell right now.
Other facts that we have going in here while we're in the jaw box. Elliott was on Cinemajaw 2 times before. Episode number 317, which was Best Voice Performances, and episode 442 around this time last year for Best Horror Films of the Decade that we covered.
That was fun.
Elliott was on.
Yeah.
So if you
I'm
have
pretty
not
sure both
those.
those 2 episodes, I'm confident in saying, are in most Jawheads top 10 episodes of all time.
All time.
More than likely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
They're high performers.
Yep. While we're in here also, Matt, the Chicago International Film Festival is about to get started.
Yes, it is. It is indeed, Ryan. The Chicago International Film Festival, a dearly beloved institution here in town, is going on from the 14th of October through the 25th. It's going to be showing films this year at the Drive-In Theater. And also there's going to be some virtual cinemas. So people not in Chicago should take note. You can partake in this. Some of the highlights would be opening night. They're going to be showing Belushi, which is a documentary about, obviously, John Belushi.
Looking forward to that.
Spike Lee's new documentary, American Utopia, featuring singer David Byrne and a group of musicians performing the Broadway hit. The Chicago-made documentary Road Up, a horror satire, Elliott, you might want to check this one out, entitled Bad Hair.
I'm listening.
Bad Hair. One to check out.
That gives me horror and feeling of nausea and uncomfortableness every day when bad hair happens.
I know. Bad hair days are the worst. Regina King's directorial debut, One Night in Miami. And if Jawheads want to check out the full list, go to chicagofilmfestival.com. We're going to be there via press passes, hopefully checking out some stuff, and we'll bring you more coverage.
Yeah, definitely. Probably be talking about Belushi. I think next week we should have a review for the Jawheads. I think that's everything we got in the jaw box, right?
Yeah, let's close that jaw box. Gentlemen, Adam Sandler is back in another Happy Madison Netflix outing. This time, the team is vacationing, making a movie set in Salem, Massachusetts. Hubie is played by Sandler. He's the typical lovable loser hero who's driven by a sense of Boy Scout-like duty to protect his fellow Salem lot each Halloween. Most year, he dodges eggs and falls victim to scary pranks, but this year, Scooby-Hooby-Doo finds himself wrapped up in something much more sinister than expired bacon.
As a trained volunteer, I know what it's like when the spooky fun gets out of hand. Officer D, no. The supermarket's selling expired bacon. Janet at the library has not been herself lately. I heard a voice in the sewer.
I'm sorry, I didn't recognize her.
It's
pretty impressive how long he's been a loser.
Oh, messing with Hubie Dubois. Murder! A Salem tradition.
You gotta expect a scare here or there.
There's something off in this town.
Mr. Lambert? Mr. Lambert? Is that you? Oh no.
Hubie Halloween hits all the notes of a typical Sandler film. It's dopey, goofy, sometimes screwball, and all of his friends are in the cast. Once again, he plays a seeming dimwit with a heart of gold, hidden talents, and gets the girl way out of his league. There's really nothing new here other than the Halloween twist. But what makes Hubie fun is the Sandler verse, if you will, that he's been able to build up over decades of filmmaking, this world, callbacks to the old movies, running gags. They actually add a surprisingly rich texture to the world building of Hubie's Salem, Massachusetts. There's nothing here that was gut-bustingly funny, but I had a solid smile on my face the entire time. The mystery of the plot actually had me guessing just enough that I won't spoil the ending, and the frights were less horror and way more comedy. In fact, if I had to level one major complaint, it's that I think Sandler and company could have leaned way more into the horror, and that could have knocked this up a couple pegs into something special. As it stands, it's a decent middle-of-the-road slice of standard Sandler. What do you think, Ryan? Was there enough horror peanut butter to the comedy jelly?
You hit it right there, Matt. Most certainly they should have leaned into the horror element a little bit more. I agree with you there. I actually think if they could have tweaked a few things in the film, not just that, but a few other things, this could have been a Halloween classic. I'm not even joking here.
I agree.
Yeah. That said, I think fans of the October holiday have a lot to enjoy here. There's plenty of Easter eggs spread throughout this movie. And I want to highlight the production design of the film. The town is filled with Halloween decorations, so much so that my eyes at times didn't know exactly what to look like. He's walking by the haunted house and eventually goes into the haunted house in one scene. All the different costumes. They make a joke about every newscast woman is dressed as Harley Quinn.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
There are jokes like that worked, but there are the Sandler jokes that I think miss. So I just have a breakdown of what worked for me and what didn't. What worked for me, the cast, as you said, is a lot of his regulars, but June Squibb is the older lady that plays his mother.
Yeah, she was great.
Fantastic. I mean, she was so great in there as his mom. The thermal jokes. So he has this thermal on him.
Thermos
on him. It basically transforms into anything that he needs. It constantly is being used.
So you saying you liked that or you didn't like that?
I did like that.
Really?
That joke was funny to me. At one point, we see him sitting on the toilet and the thermos is acting as a candle. Those kind of things, I thought it was bizarre and funny. What didn't work for me is like every time he was riding the bike, people were throwing stuff at him.
And it became increasingly more ridiculous.
More and more stuff.
A whole toilet flies at his head at one point.
It was just bizarre. I didn't like that at all.
I liked it.
But the cast, as far as Kevin James as the police officer,
he was good.
He was good. But the best out of his regulars, or at least callbacks, is Steve Buscemi, who plays this strange neighbor who ends up being a werewolf. That was one of the better Steve Buscemi roles in a long time.
I don't know.
I
liked
had to laugh with that.
Rob Schneider wasn't bad either, but you got to go with Ray Liotta as the surprise highlight here.
He was great also.
I didn't think I would like Ray Liotta as much as I did in this movie. He was pretty funny.
He's a bully for sure. Elliot, you attempted Hubie Halloween here.
Yeah, I kind of attempted it. I tried to sit through the whole thing. I know you guys do like the Jaw score out of however many. I mean, for me, it was a dad falls asleep too. I fell asleep during this twice. Maybe I was a little bit too tired before starting it. I mean, some Sandler stuff talks to me. Happy Madison, Mr. Deeds. You know, there's some classics that he's made. And this one, for me, didn't hit it. I like the deal that he did with Netflix. I really enjoyed Murder Mystery that came out recently. I thought that was super fun. This did feel like, guys, what should we do? What do we throw together? What can we make? There was some classic Sandler jokes in there that were funny, some that don't hit anymore as much as they used to. I'm sure his hardcore fans will love it. But I was more interested in, as you guys mentioned, some of the scenery was incredible. Some of the artwork, construction was really well done. And the cast that are thrown together, all the regular cast, I always enjoy that. And you mentioned Steve Buscemi. I spent half the time, pointing out about, oh, Steve Buscemi's in it. Oh, Kevin James, obviously. But it was more fun seeing that the characters come back in, and it's like the usual gang that get together. But I mean, I found it painful at times to watch. I really did.
I think if there was something painful to watch, and it's, you would think I would hate it by saying this, it was actually Adam Sandler's character of Hubie, who he just can't play it straight. He always has to play sort of like a nitwit, Mm-hmm. He doesn't have to be that dumb, or that goofy, or however you described him in your review. I call him just the town nitwit. But yeah, play it a little bit straighter. It's okay. He's proven that he can act. Just play it a tad bit straighter, and I think you wouldn't turn off so many people.
Do you want Uncut Gems Sandler inside Hubie Halloween? Would that be more fun for you?
That would be a blast to see.
I'll go out on the limb and say I think Sandler's got an Oscar in him. It's going to happen at some point. I think we saw with the Safdie brothers and Uncut Gems, and even the Meyerowitz stories, he's got this potential. And I agree. Hubie Halloween is just another like watered down version of The Waterboy. It's even got that Dubois French Creole sort of sounding name. So it's right there on the nose. You're right, Elliot. It's like slapdash thrown together, but they make quality stuff. I mean, he obviously has the budget from Netflix to make a movie that's well produced, well made, and the cast they're all talented people. So this isn't a total waste of time. I think just don't expect very much from it.
There you go. You just summed it up. Don't expect anything.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. If you take Sandler out of the equation, if you take that big glitzy budget out of it, and if that was a B movie with the same script and different actors, you would probably turn it off after about 3.5 minutes.
100%.
2 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. The only other thing I really loved about it was the sweatshirts and T-shirts that the mum wore.
Yes.
With all the phrases. That was I was dying every time I saw a T-shirt.
Yeah, that was a good sight gag. That was funny.
Yeah.
Boner donor. If you can read this, you're within fart range.
Yes. There were some brilliant T-shirts.
That was well done in the art department right there.
Matt, you got a movie poster quote for us?
Hubie Halloween will fill your thermos with joy or soup.
I went with, picture this, really big, bold letters. The greatest movie ever, smaller letters, starring a character named Hubie.
Pretty good. How many jaws are you giving this, Ryan?
This is a 2-jaw movie. I wouldn't go out of my way to recommend, but at the same point, I'm not going to poo-poo it either.
I think I'm giving it 2 jaws as well, and I think we're both being kind of generous with this. I just kind of had fun with it. It was very unobtrusive.
Elliot, we're on a 4-jaw scale. How many jaws?
I'll be generous. I'm just going to go along with the gang in case you guys beat me up. I'm going to give it 2.
2 jaws.
That's where, middle of the road.
Yeah.
It's now streaming on Netflix. So if you're in the mood for Halloween, and I think that's where this hits, you're not going to hate it right now. It's got a lot of eye candy and definitely gets you in the mood for Halloween. So
yeah, definitely. And
let
it's
us know what you think of it, Jawheads.
It's a boon for the fine people of Salem, Massachusetts as well.
Bless them all.
Brings us to trivia. You can hear the music playing, Matt. It can only mean one thing. It's time to play some trivia on Cinemajaw. And in honor of the new movie, which will be hitting Apple Plus TV at the end of this month, On the Rocks, starring Bill Murray, we are playing Bill Murray movie trivia. Elliot, you're our guest. You get to choose if you want to go first. You can let Matt go first. There are steals, and if you get hung up on any questions, you get one rescue. Rescue me, Ryan. I have clues anyways to all the questions. And they do start off easy.
Yeah. One day I'll come on one of these horror episodes with you guys, and you'll actually ask me horror questions without trying to push my knowledge to the limit on other subjects, which I should know more about. But I will go first because I think it's easier to know where I stand if I go first.
All right. Question number 1. I tried to go horror with my first question. Bill Murray and horror, where do you go? You go Zombieland. Bill Murray appears in Zombieland. What actor plays Tallahassee in the film?
Tallahassee is played by... Oh, my memory for names tonight is embarrassing. Cheers. White Man Can't Jump. His name is... Oh, he smokes a huge amount of weed.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. Why can't I get his name in my head? Now I'm going to have to go run through the alphabet.
It's like Elliot's head is made of wood. Wood.
Oh, thank you. Woody Harrelson.
He is on the board, 1-0.
You obviously knew it. Yeah.
Well, I had to think about it, but here you go, Matt. Here's the thing. The questions start easy. I hope you're intimidated by Ray having to give me about 4 clues as to Woody Harrelson's name.
You know, it's funny what you know and what you don't know when you're actually in a game of trivia. Yeah.
Right.
Matt, question 2 over to you. Also, hopefully easy in the bag, and also horror with somewhat horror. Bill Murray appears in Little Shop of Horrors. Who plays the dentist in the movie?
Steve Martin.
Why couldn't you have asked me that question?
I love that movie.
You'll
1-1.
be a dentist.
Yes. Dude, Rick Moranis got punched in the face. Did you guys see that?
We did.
Yes.
We did.
Yeah.
Our best. Our prayers are with Rick Moranis.
Absolutely. He's a national treasure.
There goes our friendship with Canada. I mean, we just broke diplomatic ties with them by punching Rick Moranis, and just after his comeback in that commercial.
The guy who punched him's a hoser.
Ugh.
Question 3. Question 3 over to Elliott.
Woody Harrelson.
What city does Lost in Translation take place in?
Oh man, it's been a while since I've seen that. It's set in Japan, so I'm just gonna take a stab and say.
He is right. You are right on the Japan.
You're right. It's in Japan, and it's got to be in the capital of Japan.
Yes. Yes.
Tokyo. Oh my god. Guys, I'm so sorry. This is embarrassing for you and for me.
Tokyo, 2-1. Elliott. Question 4 over to Matt K. Matt, Bill Murray and Johnny Depp have made one movie together. It came out in 1994. Name the film.
Well, I'm guessing it's not Garfield. Bill Murray and Johnny Depp, 94. So this is like Edward Scissorhands era Johnny Depp. I mean, he was kind of at the height of his dreaminess. Cry Baby, right, was right around that time as well for Depp. He wasn't in Dead Man, was he?
Is that your guess?
I'll go with it. Yeah, Dead Man.
That is incorrect, Matt K. That is incorrect. Elliott, I don't know if you got to take a stab at this one. Johnny Depp, Bill Murray, one movie together. Came out in 1994.
I honestly can't think, and I've already wasted enough of your guys' time during this trivia. I'm going to go with, let's say Crybaby, just for shits and giggles.
Incorrect. We're looking for Ed Wood.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes.
2-1, Elliott, and question 5 is over to him. Elliott, Bill Murray has made one movie with Scream actress Neve Campbell. It came out in 1995. Name the film.
Neve Campbell and Bill Murray were in a movie together.
Unbelievable.
I feel like the unbelievable is a hint. And with the fact that I was struggling to remember Tokyo was the capital of Japan.
You do have a rescue if you need it. And you're winning 2-1 now, so you could put the pressure on.
Yeah, I might save that for a harder question if I'm still ahead. I'm going to go with... it's completely wrong, but I just love the movie and like to say it as often as I can. What about Bob?
Oof, that's a good guess, but that is incorrect. Matt, you got a chance for a steal and to tie it up.
95?
95.
Bill
Murray
Murray.
and Nev Campbell.
Nev Campbell. I know what you did last summer, Garfield.
Garfield, yes.
Incorrect. We were looking for Wild Things. Wild Things. Bill Murray is also in Wild Things with, yes. Nev
How weird.
Campbell.
I can't remember him from that movie.
Can't either.
It is 2-1 still. Question 6 over to Matt. In Moonrise Kingdom, Bill Murray is married to this actress. Moonrise Kingdom.
Guys, I have a confession to make. I still have not seen Moonrise Kingdom.
How dare you? Wes Anderson banishes you from the very symmetrical, perfect symmetry that he has created.
I'm gonna say Rescue Me, Ryan. I'll take my.
Oh, Rescue Me, Ryan. Question 6. Matt, your clue is she's in many Coen Brothers films.
Mm-hmm.
Frances McDormand?
Yeah.
Is correct.
Wow.
Is correct.
That's a total guess.
That's
Thanks
the only name I can remember tonight.
Thank you for the clue.
It is 2-2. Question 7. I mean, this is thrilling here. Question 7 is over to Elliott. 2 questions left. Elliott, Bill Murray has made one movie with Danny DeVito. It came out in 1996. Name the film.
Bill
And you do have your rescue available.
Rescue me. I'm doing it.
Wow. Question 7, back-to-back rescues. Your clue is the film also starred basketball player Michael Jordan.
Oh, then it's Space Jam.
Yes.
Guess which basketball movie I've never seen?
Space Jam.
Guess which remake I'm never going to go see?
I'll agree with that. 3-2, Elliott. Last question of the game. Either Elliott wins this one or you tie it up here, Matt.
Okay.
Matt, and you've already wasted your lifeline, so
Yeah.
you're on your own. Bill Murray has made only one movie with John Goodman. It came out in 2014. Name the film.
Wow. Oh, man. So my gut is telling me those two maybe did some voices together in an animated film or something, but I don't think so. Because I think Goodman's only done Monsters, Inc. and Bill Murray definitely wasn't in that. 2000 what? 14?
2014. John Goodman, Bill Murray in the same movie.
Man, I don't got it. Flight.
That is incorrect, Matt K. Elliott has won this one 3-2, but do you got a guess on this one by any chance here, Elliott?
You know what? This is the weirdest thing. I love Bill Murray. I love his movies, and this has been the hardest thing to try and remember anything he's been in with all these other people. And I have not got a clue. I don't want to waste any more time.
Yeah.
What the hell's the movie?
The Monuments Men. The Monuments Men.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah. Little scene, The Monuments Men. Elliott wins this one. Can I get a virtual handshake here?
Yes.
He wins this one 3-2.
Virtual fist bump, sir.
Oh, there we go.
If it came down to a tie, this question, the jawbreaker would have been to Elliott. Bill Murray's birthday, should it be a national holiday or no?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes, I agree. It should be.
Yeah.
Let's get this moving in the right direction.
Right.
Yeah. The real jawbreaker is this: Age of Nev Campbell. Closest to
Age of Nev Campbell. Okay.
Yeah, Matt, you could. Okay, Elliott wants to go first. He could take a
No,
stab.
Matt, because Matt's terrible at these, so I'm
Yeah.
just letting him go and kill himself first. Go and set yourself on fire, Matt, and I'm going to think about it properly.
Nev
Well, yeah.
Campbell, Party of Five actress, been in Scream 1-4, I believe, all of them. How old is she, Matt? Current age.
I'm going to say Nev Campbell is 48 years old.
Lock him in at 48. Elliott, we got to guess.
I think that's a pretty good guess, but all I really have to do is say 49.
Should have went the other way, Elliott. She's 47.
47.
Yeah, 47 for Nev Campbell. Yep.
What on Matt?
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a great guess.
Yeah.
Someone had 16 posters of Nev Campbell on their bedroom wall.
Yeah, so somebody did. I got a future at the carnival, guessing people's weights.
Bring us to the end of a very fun and entertaining jaw. First and foremost, we got to thank our guest, Elliott. Thanks for coming on and staying up with us.
It's an obligation to thank me, but I appreciate you actually guys doing it. So I love being here. I love spending time with you guys, and Halloween especially. So thank you so much for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Matt,
Absolutely.
we also got to thank our sponsors.
Yes, thanks to Overcast and the Chicago Podcast Co-op, who help us get great sponsors like them.
If you would like to support Cinemajaw, the easiest way to do so is by leaving us a review wherever you're listening to this podcast.
And as we say each week, or every so often, we are on Patreon as well. So if you want to support the show, you can join us there. We're posting more bonus content, Jawhead, so follow along. It's a lot of fun.
Until next week, I'm Rye, the movie guy.
I'm Matt Kay, and keep on jawing about the movies. We have to say it out of sync, because if we try to sync up over Zoom, it doesn't work.